So it's a heartbeat rhythm, and it's intended to bring people into synchrony with their heartbeats.
Oh, yeah.
Synchronized heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. We are all in sync.
Thank you, Jerry Wesh. That's our traditional drumming opening for you visitors. Good. I'm glad you all feel your heartbeats. My name is Ann Lewis, and I'm going to be your service leader today. I want to welcome you to Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists. If you are visiting, please participate as you feel comfortable. And you're invited to join us, please, for some really good snacks in the back after our service. Whoever you are, whomever you loved, however you arrived here, you are welcome. And also, may the fourth be with you. Sorry, I just had to do it. Sorry. Our congregation is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion, which enriches the spirit. We are mostly a lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by the volunteer contributions of all of you, members and friends. And our community is supported by and guided by our minister, Reverend Victoria Poling, who is here with us every fourth Sunday. Thank you. Every second Sunday, I welcome additions and corrections. Thank you. We acknowledge, of course, that we are on the traditional homelands of the Swabash Coast Salish people. The Puyallup people have lived and stewarded these lands from the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is a small step toward true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land and beyond. Our service today is following our monthly theme. We join with other UU congregations in sharing a theme each month, and our theme this month is imagination. So our social justice and environmental justice team has invited representatives from our Vashon's own Burn Design Lab, who have demonstrated a vast amount of imagination in order to create a wonderful program that our guest, Paul Means, and his wife, Sue, will share with us later in the program. But you may also have noticed we have an Africa theme today. Most of the Burn Design Lab work is in Africa. Many of you have visited, lived, worked in Africa. So we just wanted to give a nod to that. Now, as we begin our service, please take a couple of breaths to become fully present. You may want to put your feet on the floor, just touching the ground. Relax and bring your attention into this moment of communal reflection and sharing. I'll invite George Lewis to come forward and light our chalice and share our chalice lighting reading. I'll light it for you.
You're gonna light it that out. Any microphones I need?
Just one.
Oh,
There it is.
the chalice lighting reading is entitled The Embers of Imagination by the Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice, a spark in the darkness, kindling the embers of imagination within us. May its flame ignite wonder, fuel dreams of justice, and illuminate the path toward what could be.
Our opening reading is, oh, good. Hello, Gay. I'm so glad you're here.
Good.
Gay is going to read our opening reading. Okay, good morning. So this is a reading by Nick Cave. What we think, do, and say is fundamental to the survival of this grand human project. Each of us is precious, and our actions are vital. Everything we do and say matters. We can speak beauty into the world or poison it with our words. We can build things up or tear them down. We can dream of a world that is vast, alive, and interesting, or reason it to be small, hard, and empty. We are each an artist, said the poet, priest, and philosopher John O'Donohue. We each possess an imagination. Everyone, whether they like it or not, is involved in the construction of the world. Every action we take and every word we speak builds or breaks the planet. We must approach the world as collaborators and willing participants in preservation. Thank you. Our first song, we're trying a few things new today. Our first song, we're going to listen to a recording of Mbube, also known as Wimmoe, by Lady Black. You may have heard them here on Vashon Island or elsewhere. The song was originally written, we believe, by Solomon Linda, a South African musician in 1939. It was a long time before he was credited for this song, but it was adapted, and most of you probably know the original chorus of Wimmoe. So you're welcome, of course, to sing along if you wish. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you. Ted Clayball will introduce our speaker.
Well, I met Paul Means when he first joined the Byrne Design Lab about 13 years ago. Um, and I remember when he came in, he was a little bit sweaty. And I said, Paul, are you nervous? Is that why you're sweating? And he said, no, I just rode my bicycle. And I said, well, where did you come from on your bicycle? Puyallup. I thought Puyallup. And as long as I knew Paul, and I still know him, but I'm not at the Byrne Design Lab very much anymore. I used to be up there fairly frequently. But, Paul, I would see rain. I never saw big snowstorms where he rode his bicycle, but the rain. And he told me a funny story this morning. He said one time he came over and there'd been a lot of hail. And when he was coming up Ferry Dock Hill, one person who was also a bicycle rider had written in the hailstones on the road, "Hi, Paul." so, so anyway, Paul has been with the Byrne Design Lab as its president and executive director and chief major domo for 13 years, but he stepped down as the executive director in January this year, and another young man who has been with the lab about 5 years, Jeremy Sue, is taking over in Paul's place, but Paul's still, active on a part-time basis. But Paul has a rich background. He was at Byrne. He was 4 years as a research and testing manager, and 9 years as president and executive director. And now he's a senior advisor. Um, Before he came to Byrne, he got a master's in mechanical engineering degree and worked at Weyerhaeuser in a variety of positions, including power plant manager and project and process engineering roles. And Paul's expertises, he's got more than just one expertise, include energy systems, power generation, wood drying, pelletization, and gasification technologies. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Paul Means, and he may even show you the stove. So thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Ted. And thank you for the opportunity to be here and share a little bit about Byrne Design Lab. Um, yeah, I do have ridden my bicycle quite a few times. Usually it's just from the ferry dock on the south end, not very often from Puyallup, but I have done that a few times. When I have an opportunity to talk or share about the work at what we call BDL, I'll often tell people we're in the business of developing or designing a better campfire. And say, why is that? Well, because there's something like 2 billion people in the world who cook on what we would call a campfire. And that means that women are working over this open fire, getting smoke inhalation. It's very detrimental for their health and the health of their families. There's an environmental impact from an excess amount of wood being harvested. It impacts their ability for other livelihood because it's taking time away from other activities, or sometimes they have a little bit of money, they might buy their wood or fuel, but then there's that much less for any other activities. And this is both on an individual level, household level. You see the picture on your left, which really a 3-stone fire, 3 big rocks with a little campfire in between and a pot on top. It's very typical. And then it happens on an institutional level. The young woman on the right there who's cooking for schools. And that's an area we've been involved with more recently. And I guess I'll say one more thing about this is what you might imagine, and my wife Sue will tell you stories about when we've been in Guatemala, and burns of children is a major problem because of these open fires. So, um, and there's also a very large global impact. This young girl was at a village in Guatemala, and my wife Sue and I were involved in with a team of local Guatemalans and village elders installing and improved cook stoves in some of the homes. And this young woman was ready to take apart their little stove they had going, which was this open fire. And I said, "Oh, please," as she's reaching down there, I said, "Please let me take your picture." And to me, these are just wonderful people, but they're in an economic situation where they're having to cook in this manner. But so 2 billion people in the world, about a quarter of the world's population, are cooking in something similar to this. It represents about 2% of global CO2 emissions. To give you an idea of what that means, in all commercial air travel, airlines is about 12,000 planes in the air at any one time. And that's a very comparable amount of CO2 emissions. It's 2.5%. So just to get an idea, it's enormous. And our vision and mission at Burn Design Lab is that we want women and their families, wherever they are, to be able to cook in a healthy environment and not be detrimental to their own environment, as in health concerns, and to the global environment. And we're doing that by research, design, development of improved cook stoves. And what we provide as an organization is not only improved stove designs, but also improved manufacturing systems, because this is a major issue in many of the places we work, where there's not a manufacturing technology, or those really entrepreneurial companies that are involved in trying to make stoves don't have the background, the manufacturing background, to make them more cost effectively. And how we do this is through, again, establishing local partnerships, typically with local manufacturers. It's a user-centered approach. The user is really what matters. And then it's an iterative methodology we follow, so that the conceptual design, building prototypes, testing those prototypes, making adjustments, getting prototypes into the field for the users to use and tell us what's wrong with them. Invariably, there's user feedback that's brutally honest, but it's real great. It's really enriching. And then take that feedback, it goes back into the design, and we iterate on that cycle 2, 3, 4, or more times. So this is a picture of in a factory of one of our partners, West Wind Energy. They're in Sierra Leone, and we're working with them on this institutional stove. You see the large stove there? That's basically replacing that huge pot you saw with the young woman stirring, is the institutional stove. So, but working closely with partners is really the only way we can be effective. And this is user research on a wood burning stove in Kenya. We were getting feedback from the women trying cooking on the stove with traditional African meals. And this is some more field user research, this in Guatemala. So the gentleman on the left, Frankie, is at the time was the lead technical person with Hands for Peacemaking, our partner there, and he's collecting data on the stove. And at the same time, the woman is cooking tortillas. So, and when we think, we want to make a positive impact on people's lives, on the environment by the work we're doing, and we think about that, and maybe it's because most of us or many of us are engineers, but as an equation. And we think of that positive impact is we want healthier lives, reduced forest loss. And that's really, if we look at the performance of the stove, we want it to have very good efficiency, right? So it burns very little fuel. We want it to be very clean burning, so it has very few or little emissions that can harm people's health. But that's not the end of it. Then it has to be well adopted. So it has to be something that meets their culture and needs for what they're cooking and how they cook it. And this is where the user feedback is so crucial, because it does no good to have a wonderful performing stove that people don't like to use. And then it takes durability. So the stove has to last, right? If it only lasts 6 months, which some of our early models lasted like 3 months. So it's very important because this is an investment for people. People are buying these stoves, and it's a huge investment for them. And finally, the scale. We can't do it just a handful of excellent stoves that people love that last a long time. We want thousands or hundreds of thousands, even millions, to have the real impact. So this is what is going, and that scale to have that is the stove needs to be inexpensive, right? So this is what we have in mind, and this is what we're pursuing as we do the development work. So people are wondering, what's this slide about? So I can credit this with my father-in-law, because when I got involved in this a little bit and explained to him what we were doing, and he says, well, I mean, how hard is that? To burn wood to cook something, it's not rocket science. So I said, well, yeah, think about it a little bit. And let's see, with rocket science, you've got millions, maybe even billions of dollars to work with, right? For the design, development of the rocket, I mean, heck, SpaceX, they'll just blast something off and it crashes, they do it again and crash, each time I don't know, I can't imagine how much money it is. And so they've got huge amounts of money to work with. And we have, well, on Vashon Island, little nonprofit, it's less, trust me. And the fuel they're using, their fuel is perfect, right? It's perfectly uniform. But the fuel we have to design for is, whatever people are gathering. So it's anything but uniform. And finally, the astronauts have nothing else to worry about. They're super trained. They can focus entirely on getting that spaceship where it's supposed to go. Whereas our users have other things to worry about besides how well the stove is working. So this was at some user research in Western Kenya, Kericho area. And I just got such a kick out of watching this. Actually, there's about 4 more pictures I could show you in this series. It's pretty funny how Big Brother is tormenting his sister. So some of our success, one that we, early on, I won't go into a lot of it here, maybe in the Q&A if you wish. We've been partnered with Burn Manufacturing, sort of a sister organization for the first 5 years or so, very much almost one and the same. And but together with Burn Manufacturing, we developed the Jikokoa, which is a charcoal burning stove. This is the most recent model of the Jikokoa. and it saves about 50% of fuel, it has much lower emissions, can save families because they're buying the charcoal to burn, can save families up to $200 a year. Charcoal is very bad for the environment, so this basically just cuts the charcoal use in half for everyone that has one. And so far, over 2 million of these stoves have been produced. So the Kuniakoa is a wood burning stove that, again, developed in partnership between Burn Design Lab, Burn Manufacturing, and also it was University of Washington, Mechanical Engineering Department. And this, again, has a big reduction in fuel usage, a big reduction in emissions, cost savings for the user if they're buying their wood. If they're collecting wood, it's just a lot less time they need to spend out in the field gathering wood. And then it's the cleanest burning, most efficient stove of its type available in the world. And 2 million of those have been sold to date. We developed in partnership with Hands for Peacemaking Foundation in Guatemala an improvement to a plancha stove that they're using. Again, big reduction in fuel, big reduction in emissions. In this case, the emissions go out a stack in the outside of the home. And about 460 or so stoves been produced. Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. It has, they call it a plancha. It's a big flat steel top for cooking tortillas. Yep. And then a project we've been involved with for several years. It was really a challenging project, and that is developing an improved shea roaster. So in Ghana and other places in West Africa, the women form cooperatives and they process shea nuts into shea butter. And part of that process is roasting the shea nuts. And that has been done traditionally on an open fire, similar to some of the pictures you saw earlier. And shea is like shea butter. So it's used in cosmetics and lotions and such. And there's a shea fruit, and then inside that is a nut. And when the oils of the nut are extracted, they can be made into shea butter. So, but anyway, when in our development process that took years, it was really a challenge, but we developed that could use 90% less wood because we're able to use a waste product of the process, and a huge reduction in emissions. And then we developed it here on Vashon Island. We're taking this fairly large piece of equipment back and forth for testing to get to user research. But then a big challenge for us was transferring that technology into local manufacturers so that they could make it successfully. And Jeremy Sue, who's now the executive director, spent probably 4 or 5 months or more in Ghana working with local manufacturers to help them have the expertise needed to produce the new roaster. These are a few pictures of the old method for roasting, very smoky, and women exposed to fire. It was really, really bad, very hot for the women to be roasting the nuts there.
Is that like?
Yes, there's a drum that's rotating. And here the drum you can see is totally enclosed. And I should have shown the little video, but you can see where there's a nice fire going inside, and then you show the stacks, and it's just nothing. You can't see anything coming out the stacks from the emissions. So it's, very, very satisfying. This woman was so excited about the roaster. She was really, really pleased. Some current projects we have going. One is this institutional stove that we partnered with West Wind Energy in Sierra Leone. Big reduction in fuel savings. We've been working with them to improve their manufacturing process to make it more cost effective. I mean, you remember the equation and the scale. How far is this going to go? Well, cost is a major consideration. So driving down that manufacturing cost is key. And we're producing about 250 of those stoves this year. And the World Food Program has recently announced, I believe it's about 600 more stoves that'll be going in to Sierra Leone. So just a few other pictures there, the stove, the school children, a couple of the cooks who really huge. You can imagine if before they were working around that huge pot with the flames, how they feel about this stove. Yeah. And oftentimes, if it's associated with this World Food Program, they're building a new kitchen at the same time. So it's a new kitchen. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the school feeding programs are so important for the children's education just because of the health effects that they have. So we're working with West Wind Energy on household stoves as well. So both a wood stove and a charcoal stove. And we're very active in that right now. We've got prototypes we've been building and iterating on. And within about a month, we'll be getting those prototypes into the field and setting up user research. And then another project that we have is some research and development. Our aim here is to develop a ceramic stove because it's the lowest possible cost is to use ceramic material instead of stainless steel. I mean, for example, Sierra Leone, there's no steel produced in that country, so everything has to be imported. But there is clay, and there is an opportunity to make stoves out of clay, but how it's processed, how it's designed, how the stove is designed, make a big difference in terms of how durable it is and how well it performs. This is okay. Just show you for a minute, but this is a locally produced clay stove. It hasn't been optimized necessarily. Our intention is to see if we apply the very best possible technology into this low cost material, how well can we go to meeting people's needs? These are some examples of clay stoves that are in operation, and they function well, but performance-wise, they're very inefficient, and the emissions are high. So that's our challenge that we want to take on because it really is an opportunity to get a very low-cost stove into more and more people's hands. A couple of our engineers with some ceramic pieces that they've recently fired that will be cutting up and then breaking, exposing to thermal cycles, and then breaking for durability testing. Just a couple other pictures from Sierra Leone. The woman on the left was on the side of the street cooking banana cakes and frying banana cakes, and they were delicious. It was really very, very good. And then pots. It's funny how crucial it is that the stove matches the pot that people are going to be used. So it's really optimizing the system. And we are active in Africa primarily, but we've also done work in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Guatemala. And I really enjoy this picture because the stove there is the Kuniakoa that was developed here on Vashon Island. And it's being manufactured in Kenya. But a container or more of the stoves went to Cambodia. And this woman is in Cambodia cooking on this very international stove for the benefit of her family. And it's just so gratifying to see. It's kind of cool how you helped start this, Ted. Isn't it something you've got women in Cambodia that are the beneficiaries of your work? So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, as Ted said, Burn Design Lab has been here since 2010, and very grateful for all the support we've received from Vashon community, and can't thank you enough for that. We wouldn't be here without the kind of support we've received. And we do. Speaking of which, we have a fundraiser coming in the spring. So yeah, we're happy to have any additional support. And if anybody would like, if you'd like a tour of Vashon, of Burn Design Lab, look me up and we can set something up. So field trip, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yes. When do you want those now or I was told afterwards? So I don't know what.
Our experience is afterwards, but afterwards gets a little chaotic. And I wondered just if it might be easier to take a few right now, if you don't mind.
Happy.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yes, Amy.
Billion using cook technology over stove. Can you imagine 2 billion people with this technology? Is that a goal?
Exactly. Well, I guess what I would say is it's a big problem. So 2 billion people, they're not all cooks, but if you say 500,000 families and 4 people in a family are cooking with biomass fuels, and most of them are on the open fire type, right? So all these problems. How is that being addressed globally? There's a lot of emphasis in some countries to go to LPG, which is like our propane, because they don't have natural gas piped everywhere. So using propane. So that's one approach that's being done. It's not anyway. And then another approach that's often suggested is solar cooking, which has some advantages, but actually it hasn't really gone very far because people end up the cooks don't like to be out in the sun, right? So they don't like to be out in the sun, and then of course there's other issues with morning and night, and but then there's another work going towards electric cooking as more electrification. So these are all areas, but the problem is there's the vast majority of those 2 billion people are never going to get the LPG, or they're never going to get electricity, at least not in their lifetime. So our thought is we want to provide them the best possible cook stoves that we can for the fuel that they're having to use because of their economic situation. So yeah, eventually that's what we would like to see 2 billion, or well, actually it'd be 500,000 stoves. Yeah. Yes.
Library.
It's surprising, but most woods, there's not as much variety as you might think in terms of the energy content of wood. It's a fairly narrow band. The biggest issues are moisture. So, and that's some of that is educational, of trying to help people understand they're going to use a lot less and have less problems with smoke, et cetera, if they can make sure the wood is dry. But when we're testing, we'll make sure, we're using a hardwood if that's what they're using in the field. We did some recent work with bamboo because that's an opportunity for a purpose-grown crop that would be fairly low cost and actually works well as a fuel. So, yeah.
Cost that stove? And is it, how affordable is it to these 2 billion people?
So a stove like this one up here is about $30 cost. And it's for many of the people, it's not affordable for a couple reasons, even though they might save that cost in 3 months. So they might pay it off in fuel savings, but they have a difficult time amassing or collecting that much capital at one time. So now sometimes because of carbon credits, that can be subsidized and the cost can be brought down to $10 or even $5 by carbon credits. Basically, well, I won't go into that, but the carbon market is such that it can incentivize for the manufacture and production of these stoves. But the ceramic stove by itself potentially can be as little as $5. Yeah. 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 Go ahead. Go ahead.
Towards microloans, partnering with microloan companies like Kiva to get let people pay off these stoves over time to get their economy to pay it off. Money.
Yes. Yeah. There's that's been done. In fact, there was a time, I don't know if it's still in the works now, but there was a period of time in the development of burn manufacturing in Kenya that one of the local banks was actually doing exactly that, and they'd sell the stove or have the stove in the bank, if you will, and then finance it for people. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. What's the, how do they last? I mean, these like this model.
This model will last 2 to 3 years. So, yeah, it's a very severe duty from, 1500 degrees Fahrenheit down to near room temperature and back 3 times a day. It's very, very severe duty. Some stoves, the wood burning stove last up to 6 or 7 years. So yes.
Funding.
Comes from 3 main places. One is what we call program income, and that's where if there's an organization that has enough funding of themselves, they hire us like consultants. Another is through grants. So we're applying for grants. And the third is philanthropic support. So yeah, those are the three areas. Yes.
My lab was started by a person on that one.
Yes, yeah. Burn Design Lab was started by Peter Scott, and he did live on Vashon for about maybe 5 years or so, and then he started Burn Design Lab, and it wasn't much more than 6 months later, formed and Burn Design Lab is a nonprofit 501c3 corporation, and but he realized they wanted to build wanted thousands and thousands of stoves, wanted to have them produced in Africa, and to do that needed to raise a lot of capital for a factory, and realized that's not really the role of a nonprofit. So formed with Ted's help, formed a for-profit organization called Burn Manufacturing. And they're now in Kenya and doing amazing work. So yeah, I think there's over 2,000 or 3,000 people employed there now. Yeah. Yeah, I think the majority are probably women. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah. Any other questions? Ted, yeah.
One of the reasons for these stoves was, the deforestation not only affecting the forest, but because of deforestation, it would cause pollution in the rivers. Because when the rain came down, all this stuff would which normally would have gone down into the ground with trees, just went into the rivers and caused pollution. And it seems to me also, and you ever get involved in this, that one of the problems with the traditional stoves when they cook in their huts was carbon monoxide. And, women with babies on their back and little children, and the impact of that on their lungs.
Yeah, right. It's both particulate emissions and carbon monoxide are hazards. Yes. Yeah. Um, we're developing, well, we do design work, we build prototypes, and then we test those prototypes. And right now we're working on an improved household stove for Sierra Leone and West Africa, and an improved charcoal stove for Sierra Leone and West Africa. And we've just finished work on the institutional stove, but I expect with the first 100 or so of those are getting out in the field. I expect we'll get additional user research, and so there'll be another iteration on that design as well.
Thank
There's about 10, Burn Design Lab has about 10 people, and 2 of those are in Ghanaian, and then we have about 8 others on Vashon that are, employees, and we have about half a dozen volunteers.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
We might
Okay.
have a chance for more questions after.
Okay.
If people can find you.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Paul, very much for those words that are very inspirational and informative and interesting. And I think you've generated a lot of interest, and we appreciate it very much. We're now going to pause the recording. Oh, I didn't mention that some of our people are the joys and concerns we share here and those around the world. I hope you'll join me in an a cappella version of our song, There is a Love. If you're visiting or new, you'll find the words on the inside of the gray hymnal. There is a love holding me. Our congregation engages beyond our walls in many ways. We've seen a demonstration today. If for peace, social and economic justice, freedom of belief, and protection of our planet and its inhabitants. Once a month, we contribute the financial offerings to an organization that aligns with our values. This week's offering will support Burn Design Lab, and that we were fortunate enough to learn about from Paul and their important work. Please donate cash or a check made out to Burn Design Lab, or you can donate on our website using the Donate Now button, and just make sure to designate the donation for the community donation. I hope someone will come forward and pass the baskets. Thank you, Mark, Alex. And as the baskets go around, please join me in singing We Give Thanks. Again, those words are on the inside of the great hymnal. Um, Give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered. Thank you. Julia Lakey, would you come forward and read the final reading? Thank you.
This final reading is from Adrienne Marie Brown. Nature has taught me about fluid adaptability, about not only weathering storms, but using howling winds to spread seeds wide, torrential rains to nurture roots so they can grow deeper and stronger. Nature has taught me that a storm can be used to clear out branches that are dying, to let go of that which was keeping us from growing in new directions. These are lessons we need for organizing. As Octavia taught us, the only lasting truth is change. We will face social and political storms that we could not even imagine. The question becomes not just how do we survive them, but how do we prepare so when we do suddenly find ourselves in the midst of an unexpected onslaught, we can capture the potential, the possibilities inherent in the chaos, and ride it like dawn skimming the horizon.
Thank you very much. You've proven yourselves to be very good at a cappella singing. Um, so, in our final hymn, I'm wondering if you would please turn to hymn 1030 in the Teal book. And it's a song that our fellowship has sung before. Some of us old timers might remember. It's again a South African song entitled Siyahamba. It is We Are Marching. So are we going to sing along with a recording or are we going to do it a cappella?
The recording.
So it's really easier than you thought. So I put it this way. It's pretty high. See, yeah. Hamba, see, hamba, hamba, see, yeah, see, hamba, hamba, see, hamba, hamba, see. Yeah, you're sounding good. See, yeah, what goes, see. Done. Well, sounds wonderful. Might need a little more work, but that's all right. We'll just practice this every week and we'll get there. Thank you very much. Good try, everybody. I liked it. I think George Lewis is going to read our chalice extinguishing words.
These chalice extinguishing words are entitled To Kindle New Fires in the World by Reverend Michelle Collins. Though the flame is extinguished, the embers of imagination remain. Carry them forward, dream boldly, act with love, and kindle new fires in the world. Yeah.
I think there's supposed to be another page here. Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, I know what it is. All right, thank you. Though the flame is extinguished, the embers of imagination remain. As George has told us, I'm going to ring the chime.
Time. Yes. Amazing.
Our formal service is now over. I want to give special thanks, and we must acknowledge, really, the hard work of the social justice team, and especially Catherine Sullivan, in putting this program together. But I don't want to forget George Lewis, Julia Lakey, Gay, and set up group number one for the hard work that you've done. Do we have any announcements? Yes, Kirk. How did I guess? Now we'll hear from our treasurer.
Mike. Yes.
Pledge update. Pledge/stewardship update. So we've moved up from $47,820 to $56,680. And that's with 29 pledge units. That's the good news. The not so good news is, according to our proposed budget, we need to be at 92,088 in pledges. And that'll get us to a balanced budget. Now that's just part of the income. So we need and we'd like to do this. We have a board meeting this Thursday. And at that board meeting, we'll discuss where we stand and if we need to make any budget cuts. Yeah, no, yeah. So those who have pledged, thank you. Those who haven't pledged, I urge you to pledge by hopefully Thursday. Okay. If you pledged and you're considering pledging more, that would be very grateful too. We'd be very grateful. Yeah. So, and I wanted to tell you, where does the pledge money go? Well, I did a little survey of the pledge, And administrative costs are at 64,000, so we're under that. The committee expenses, which includes the program committee, which puts on programs like this, is another almost $20,000. And then we have our community service fund that we decided last year to do. That's $6,500. And that's about 83,000. So we're still under that, plus another 16,000 for the other expenses like UUA fund, and it all adds up, right? So again, appreciate those who have, and those who are especially members. That's part of membership, is honoring us with your money, honoring the community with your money. One other, did you have something to say about?
First.
Okay.
So on a board, we have people that are global and we have people that are quite linear. And so our linear persons get really nervous at this time of year, and our global people go, it'll come. So I'm pretty much the person that believes it will come, but I know that we all need reminders. So if you would like me to come around and write a $ on your hand so you remember to go home and pledge, I'm happy to do that. My pen is out, and this is washable, not permanent.
Yeah, and it also occurred to me too, if you haven't pledged, you pledged last year, we're going to gather a team together and make phone calls as a reminder.
And inflation has gone up. So if you made a pledge and you've been keeping the same pledge because it's on your automatic, bill pay, think about going in there and changing it. It's kind of a pain to do that, but you can do it.
And I think pledges are a sign of love for your community. That's how I view it. So how I appreciate it. Yeah, Cynthia.
I'm working on how to put this when it came through to me in my sleepless early morning arrival here. Mr. Buffett is retiring. He's 94 years old. If we could create what we do here on a video and send it to him, especially after the talk we heard today, let's do it.
Very good.
On the, I know some people look at the list.
Yes. No, just go to the website via the newsletter. Doesn't have anything to do with PayPal. You can set up your pledge on PayPal. We have hard copy pledge forms here. I know I printed up some last week. So no. Yeah, right. Or yeah. Pledging is a promise that you'll pay it throughout the next year. Right. You don't have to cut a check right now. Right. Yeah, Judy. Thank you. Did you hear that? Yeah, consider it a bill. A good bill, one that you want to pay. And then talking about the budget.
Bill has a question.
Bill.
Well, I mean, anytime you use a credit card or PayPal, they take a cut. So
Yes.
they check.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we budgeted the money and expenses for PayPal too. So yeah, it does. It comes out. Also, if you're curious about the budget, I'm going to be hanging around here. I made some copies, and if you have questions, you can go through it and we'll talk about it. And again, this is a big, we review the budget at the annual meeting. What else? Oh, one other thing that's not budget related. Take a deep breath. We're working on CBEC, the summer retreat, and there's a sign-up sheet, several sign-up sheets for the cabins at CBEC. If you'd like to do that, it's on the desk at the entrance, just inside the entrance. So check that out.
And just reminding you that the 18th of this month is the annual meeting. And so I look forward to seeing you all. at the annual meeting here. Our service will be run by the board. We don't know what we're doing yet, global. Linear people, nervous.
I think Ann was trying to get me to come up to get you to stop. So
Yeah.
Reverend Victoria,
I'm done.
announcement.
That obvious.
I think so. I picked up on it. Reverend Victoria is going to be here next Sunday. Woo, woo. She also wanted me to give a little reminder that there's a survey out in the newsletter and there's some printed out copies there. So we just are looking for feedback about these Sunday services. Do you like it? Do you want to change things? The number of speakers? You can just say more or less of certain ones. The music's really good, or people talk too long and make too many announcements. We're looking for that kind of feedback. Thanks.
I'm supposed to make an extended announcement about CBEC, but I think we're running against time. So please ask me or ask any of us who've been there. It's a wonderful thing. Vicky has a quick one.
Quick. Our good friend Brooke is not here today because he's at the art tour with his husband. It's at Hawk Studio. Help me, somebody. Where is it? Beale Road, number 42 on the art tour. And we had a dinner at his house this week, and he would be so joyful if we all just went down there and supported his art today. Thank you.
Sounds like another field trip, but hey, it's May. Now we have May birthdays, and this is your time. You've been waiting all year. I hope the May birthdays will please come forward so that we can honor you and offer you our very special birthday pencil. All right, Julia, Jerry,
Bernie listening.
Bernie gets a pencil.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, hey. Birthday to you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for attending. Now let's send each other off with our song of Go Now in Peace. So go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you go. Thank you.
Arts tour too.
Sylvia's on the arts tour.